Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I'm Shok. So today we're going to be doing a lane review of Faker's Orianna. I want to do this kind of as a kind of prequel like I did with the Chovy CSing to the full farming guide that I did. I just want to do, first I'm going to do a couple videos on just like laning from ahead and laning from behind before I do my full kind of in-depth laning guide, just so there's not so much packed into one video. So getting into this, we're going to be going over Faker's Orianna versus Vex. So this is a winning matchup for Orianna, so we're mainly going to focus on like playing lane aggressively and how to play out a winning matchup. So first off, I'll quickly show you what runes he's got. He's got very early game setup, Time Warp Tonic and Scorch, namely, in the area. But let's talk about why this is a winning matchup. So the first kind of like, not all the time, but a big reason why some champions like win over other champions is often cooldowns. So one reason that Orianna and Syndra are like really massive lane bullies is because their like spam harass ability have very low cooldowns. So Orianna's Q is 6 seconds and Syndra's Q is only 4 seconds. If we compare this to like Vex's Q, it's 9 seconds. And not only that, it's like way harder to like reliably harass someone when they go to CS with like Vex Q or Vex E than it is to do with Orianna Q. So that basically means that trading aggressively, Orianna is going to look to like harass Vex every time she goes for a CS, and that's going to be very easy for her to do with her Q, but not very easy for Vex to reply. So straight away, warding the Raptors, this is just like against like a Kayn thing, like Kayn start Raptors, so having this info is important to know. But why is he pushing already? So this is one thing I actually did a lot when I played competitively, is oftentimes you see at level 1, people standing really, really far back. And there can be some reasons for that, like I think Vex, was watching this invade. But if say you're under your tower as opposed to pushing the wave, you're already at a disadvantage. There's no reason why you can't stop pushing the wave up here. Like Vex could be up here. And the reason for that is because if you can get the push on the wave earlier, it means you hit level 2 and you hit level 3 before your opponent, especially if you like slow push the waves. So that's really beneficial because it means not only do you have an minion advantage to trade with, but you also hit that level 2 and level 3 power spike earlier, and you can look to trade with it. So here, you can see there's like a couple things going on here. So because Orianna has already secured the push, she doesn't actually want to push it any faster. If you push this, oh, the sweeper's on. If you push this wave like faster, right? It'll crash under tower and you won't be able to harass as much. While Orianna is good at harassing under the enemy tower, Orianna is very good at harassing like on the way in, like while the wave's going in as well. So what you really want when you are winning these, especially range versus range matchups, is you want to slow push the wave, like kind of as slow as you can, and like try and deny as many creeps as you can on the way in, like harass your opponent as much as you can on the way in, and then when the wave crashes you can use that to harass or to ward or something like that. So that's why he's not like putting tons of orders on the wave here. You can see he's got like a 1 creep advantage, but he's not like ordering the range creeps. Like if you really want to fast push, you normally order the range creeps because they're going to thin your wave out quicker. So he's mainly just matching orders with his Vex. You can see he was holding his auto attack for a bit there. So let's see. So here's like a really common thing. So when you're in a winning matchup, you kind of have the luxury of looking to harass your opponent whenever they go for a CS. So you can see that like Vex is looking at these 2 CS. Most likely she's going to try E this area or she's going to order them, which should give Orianna a free Q. So one thing I kind of like to think about is creating like a triangle between you and your opponent and the CS they want to get. So like if we quickly go back here, speed it up a little. So Orianna is a bit different because like Orianna doesn't throw spells directly from her. Like what I normally say is that like if you want to deny this creep, right? You want to make a triangle between this creep, like you, so say you're standing here, and the person. So it's a bit different on Orianna because she can harass from so far away, and because like the origin of the spell is a bit different, but it's kind of the same thing. So you can use the method of like creating a triangle. You can also do it as like standing in line with the creep. So if you imagine there's like a line that goes down here, that's where the ball is positioned. I'll talk about that more in the full laning guide, but it's just some things that you can think about. So generally when you're harassing someone on a CS, you want to try and make them choose between either taking damage or using a spell to CS them. So the reason that's important is because when people do use a spell to CS, or if they just like waste their spells, that's a window for you to punish. So Vex just wasted her E there, and you can see it's on like an 11-second cooldown left. Orianna's already got her Q up, so basically for this entire 11 seconds, there's nothing Vex can do. You can see Orianna's playing really nicely around this creep because she knows the only way Vex can get this is with an auto attack, which means that Vex should take ideally an auto plus a Q, but you can see she backs off, so that creep is denied. So I think a lot of people, when they see like really high level matchups, like high level players, they think the lane is being played passively because it's like there's not a lot of damage going back and forth, but actually it's been played like extremely actively, you know, like every creep is like there's a lot of thought put into single thing. And I hope you can see here that even though Vex is only taking a tiny bit of damage, there have already been like lots of displays of skill, in my opinion. So I'd say this is a little bit sloppy. It's very obvious that Vex is going to try either wave. This slows the push and stuff like that, so Orianna should have been positioned a little more down. But ultimately, it doesn't really matter because there's no way Vex can ever kill her, right? So it's like, yeah, maybe a little bit sloppy, but it actually doesn't make a difference at all. Okay, so here you can see this is like kind of ideal. The wave is slow pushing in. I think it's maybe a little bit, actually no, I think it's just about right. So he's going to get to harass here and still get the slow push on this next wave. Let's actually go back and have a look at this trade. So let's see what happened here. So Vex used Q, that's on cooldown. It's still a bit difficult to trade into Vex because she does have her fear. So, but I like it though, like standing in line with the creep again, like creating that triangle means if she goes for that CS, it's easy to harass. I actually think this was good. Overall, the reason is that Vex traded onto Orianna, right? But she actually ended up giving up the creeps. I'm not sure if she gave up both of them or just one, but I know she missed at least one. Okay, looks like she got one, but she missed this one. So even though I would say this was like an even trade of damage, Vex is the one that actually like lost out on creeps. And you can see here that like despite their like sustain and HP being relatively the same, like Orianna's already up quite a bit of CS. Another thing is that like when waves finally do crash under tower, for most champs it is quite difficult to CS, especially in the early game. So that can be kind of another point to deny CS. Again, like you can maybe go back and look at that, but those creeps, fuck it, I'll just go back. So you can see here, like when these creeps got low, again, like Faker's in the right position, like standing in next to these creeps, got the ball already in position. So when the Vex goes up for these, she takes a QW. So you can see, guys, that like it's as you go higher and higher in like the skill, it's rare that you're just going to be able to throw a spell and the enemy get hit by it. Like obviously you can do it sometimes, but people's movement will get a lot better. And they'll get a lot better at predicting as well. So if you can like manage to time your harass with CS dying, generally that's a lot better. So the wave, still slow pushing the Vex here, which is like still what Orianna wants. I'll quickly say that there's not much point freezing in this matchup for a few reasons. So the first reason is that Vex is a range champion. Most range champions do have a way to farm from range, whereas something like Yon or Yasuo, you know, those sort of champs, they don't have a very easy time from CSing like from a distance. So if you freeze like up here, Vex can still get at least half the CS. Another reason is that Vex is very good at roaming. Not so much pre-6, but like she still has a fear and she can like contest grabs and stuff. So freezing against the Vex wouldn't really be ideal. And also just like Orianna's not the kind of champ that's like, she will build a CS advantage, right? And it will be slightly bigger if you freeze, but because Orianna is so good at CSing under tower, you kind of get 90% of that like denial, like CS denial that you're going to get anyway, just by pushing regardless. So for that reason, not much reason to freeze in this matchup. Vex just used a bunch of cooldowns, so they were able to harass. Interestingly, oh yeah, you guys can see this. 2 points in Q, I quite like this, especially if you're in a hard-winning matchup as Orianna, you don't really need the E, and it makes it very mana efficient. You can just kind of spam it every time they go for CS. So you can see what he did there. He walked up and he made it so she had to choose, the Vex had to choose between either taking damage for that or using a spell. And if people use spells to CS, it means two things. One, they're on cooldown, so you can like zone them off by moving aggressively. Two, they use mana. And three, they can't harass you. So basically, if you ever make someone use spells for CS, it's very, very impactful. And you can see not having a spell for that CS just then made Vex take a QW. This is just the nature of being in a losing matchup. Like there are obviously things Vex can do better, but it's sort of just going to happen. Orianna is a hard counter to Vex. The Faker's doing a very good job of just like making sure he punishes for every single CS. That's really nice. Also, you can see just like so much CS dying there. And Vex is going to have to base and probably miss this entire wave, looks like. Yeah, okay, so Vex misses the whole wave, Faker pushes the lane and bases. Okay, so now here's an interesting thing. So after base, TB's back, yeah, I kind of like it. Now Faker is at a gold advantage. So when you start the lane, no one's at a gold advantage, right? Not until the gold is actually spent. There might be like a champion power differential. Like you can see Orianna is stronger than Vex early, and that's how the matchup goes. But if you can, like, the bigger you build that advantage, like on your first base and like your second base, the more you can extend that afterwards. And you can get to a point where you don't even like have to rely on like them having no cooldowns. You can just kind of trade into them. So it's not as clear cut here because like Faker didn't really buy any combat stats, you know, like he bought the mana and the boots, which is like, they're very nice for the matchup, like don't get me wrong, but like there are some matchups, for example, where if you just base and you bought like 2 amp tomes, it wouldn't even matter what cooldowns they had anymore because you would just out trade them. There would be nothing they could do, right? So that's like important to recognize that once you get an advantage and you like cash in on that advantage, you can start to extend your advantage more using the new like gold advantage you have as well. So again here, I think like wave pushed on the tower will be good. Right now, Orianna's a little scared of, oh, maybe she's not scared of Kane because she sees Kane. Not sure why she stepped back there, actually. Maybe she's just scared of the fear trade. Yeah, so here, I think, yep, pushing the wave makes sense. Again, like Orianna is a champ that can harass really heavily under tower, so there's not that much reason for her to have to keep the wave in the middle or on her side. And you'll just see, again, like, pretty much just, like, trying to stand in line or near a creep that Vex is trying to CS. As you can see here, like really good positioning, and making sure to hit him every time he goes for it. Also really good, they're just dodging the abilities. This is one really nice thing about boots, like probably the most OP like first base item, is that like pretty much just like if you dodge spells, like it means so much more than just the stats, right? Obviously you do have to actually like use the boots movement speed, but oftentimes it becomes really, really valuable. So yeah, you can just see over and over, like Vex has really long cooldowns. So every time she has to like use a cooldown for CS, it's like really punishable. And Orianna, on the other hand, has very low cooldowns, down to 4.3 seconds on this Q, which means that every single CS Vex goes for, she gets punished really hard. Not only that, but the Orianna move speed actually enables her to get out, so that's pretty nice. Yeah, so keep pushing the wave under tower, can keep looking for harass under tower. The only thing Orianna would ever really need to be careful of Vex now would be like an all-in at level 6, but as long as you can keep like Vex harassed like this, especially pre-6, like there's not much she's going to be able to do. So again, like Vex was forced out of lane, so this is twice now that Vex has had to lose creeps on her base. She did get a good recall timing there, basing on a cannon wave, so she didn't lose as much as she would before. But now there's like, it's starting to, the item differential is starting to get really, really big. So like the tier 2 boots is going to allow like Faker to dodge like basically everything from Vex. Although there still isn't like just a raw stat check, it's going to be very difficult for Vex to actually do anything just because like it's so hard to hit spells at this point. This is like a reason why you can't freeze versus Vex. I'm not saying Faker is freezing here, but like if you had the wave frozen here, you would see Vex do this like all the time. This just happens because Faker had to recall. Not too much you can do about this other than like ping his team to be careful. Fortunately, it looks like his bot lane's completely fine. And this is actually a really bad roam timing from Vex. It was, I mean, you could argue like she sort of had to do something because she was so far behind in the lane, but it is just completely coin flip. I actually think Faker should probably hit this tower here. The reason is like okay, so you could run bot and try and trade here, or rather try and counter the dive. But generally when you're a mid laner, you want to play to the side that your jungler's playing to. So because Lee Sin is playing top, it's sort of hard for Orianna to walk bot. I would have liked to see him just hit the plate here. Maybe he was a bit scared of like the Vex Kane jungle. He is going to walk down. Actually curious to see if it works out, because in my opinion it's a mistake. But let's see how it goes. Maybe I'm wrong. Okay. Might be able to pick up some kills here. Ooh. Okay, did get one. There got one. Okay, it actually turned out very well. Personally, it wouldn't have been something I would have gone for. I think maybe it was like inherently risky, but like one thing to remember is that like if you do this, as long as you don't like overcommit, you're not actually losing too much for it. Like the wave is still like reasonably even. So like if you look at what Orianna lost, like she could have like pushed this wave and denied Vex and take a tower plate, which is quite a bit of gold. And I'd say it is still the better play, like on average. But like you don't really lose anything from this as long as you don't like go bot and die. Because like if you like roam after pushing the wave, right? Like as we've said before, that just like it gives you one turn to allow you to do something. So here, this is an interesting base. You're kind of forced into doing it because he overstayed on the map. So he gets the ward and bases. I'm not sure if he's going to get to this wave in time. Looks like Nautilus. Okay, Lee actually cleared it out. I think that was kind of a product of his bot lane roam. I think maybe he had an opportunity to base somewhere in there. But overall, like you can still see, really good spot. And I think now, especially the item differential is like so big that it's like sort of going to be hard for Vex. Again, guys, you can see like Vex roaming at really bad times, in my opinion. It's like hard to say because like can Vex get prior over this wave? Like no, that's like a product of the matchup. Like she can't, so she kind of has to flip roams. But at the same time, if you do have the luxury of like choosing to push this wave before you roam, then it just makes those roams like way higher percentage, or at least you don't lose stuff. You can see here, like not only I think is Vex gonna die for this. Looks like she's dead, right? Yeah, so not only did Vex die for this, but she also lost the entire wave. I mean, it's sort of depressing for Vex. I think she's just kind of like trying to coin flip the game at this point. There might not actually be too much left of this lane. I kind of feel like it's already past the point of like no return. This is basically the only thing Vex can do now is like just dive in and try and like suicide. So yeah, let's see. I'm not sure there's... Yeah, it doesn't look like there's going to be anything else from this lane. So you can see like 10 minutes in, 40 CS advantage. So again, guys, this is kind of like a prequel to what is going to be like a full laning guide. And also there's going to be another video coming tomorrow, which is just going to be kind of how to play a losing lane. So this one was very much about like how to play a winning lane, especially in the early game. Like we went a lot into those micro decisions. And tomorrow we'll go a bit into how you play like a losing lane, how you play a bit more defensively. So hopefully this was helpful, guys. If it was, like and subscribe. If you have any questions, let me know. And again, if you are seeing this a bit later on, make sure to check out the full laning guide. Probably be like a week or a week and a half after this video. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.